I'm a teacher and a researcher, and I've done things throughout my career that look at high yield. Now, a lot of that's been involved with nitrogen on corn. You would think after 41 years I would have figured all this out, but geez, Jim, there's always something new. Every grower knows that nitrogen drives corn yield, and there's actually, if you think about what does nitrogen do for corn yield, there's 4 physiological roles, and they act through the whole life. First of all, you need nitrogen to establish the photosynthetic capacity. That's to make leaves, right? And you also need it to establish the reproductive capacity. I mean, think about kernels. Those young kernels have a lot of nitrogen. Then you need enough nitrogen to maintain that photosynthetic capacity. If you don't have enough, they die faster. And then you even need nitrogen as a component of the developing grain, protein. So those roles act throughout the entire life.
We talk about biology and technology, and specifically Pivot Bio. I know big issue is you want to get nitrogen directly to that plant.
When I first started my career, the idea that corn could get nitrogen from nitrogen fixation, that was a fairy tale, right? That's what soybean did. And we thought, oh, well, maybe one day in the future, corn can get some of its N from biological nitrogen fixation. I don't know if we were thinking nodules, but if you think about what the proven technology does, it's sort of a symbiosis, because that bacteria lives right on the root, right on the root exudates. So, the plant root exudates feed the bacteria. That bacteria in turn carries out the exact same biological nitrogen fixation that soybean does, but it's got one little twist. They've edited that bacteria so that, unlike most nitrogenase enzymes, it doesn't turn off when there's N available. So it's got the nitrogen switch. It's on the whole time. I would have never thought that we'd have biology that would be another source of N. Under normal situation, corn gets about half its N from the soil, the other half from the fertilizer. And the reason we fertilize is so that we have enough during that period of peak uptake. But fertilization isn't 100% efficient. If you get 60% of the N that you apply as fertilizer into the plant in a given year, that's pretty good. We got to do a better job of placing that fertilizer, when and how the crop can use it.
When we talk about, a Pivot Bio product, and we look at, the rapid growth stages,
you cannot increase yield of corn without having a corresponding increase in the rate of peak uptake. I think I told you 230 bushels is 7 pounds of N per acre per day. That's usually the third week of May, it's usually the first week of June, right? There's that 3-week period, and if you're going to go to 300, it's got to be 9. There's no way you can increase yield without increasing the corresponding peak uptake. Weather has a huge impact on nitrogen cycling in the soil and its propensity to loss. Even if we apply ammoniacal forms like anhydrous ammonium, we know that if the temperature of the soil is high, they rapidly convert to nitrate, and nitrate's the form that can be lost. I don't have to tell growers, I'll guarantee them, they got a place in every one of their fields where either the soil lets them down, doesn't supply its half, or the fertilizer lets them down, its half is lost. And in those cases, boy, wouldn't it be nice to have a third source?
You again stress that the big key here is you want that nitrogen right at the root.
Placement is key. And again, being able to fix and provide it right on the root is one of those, in my mind, the most important of the 4 R's.
And that's why this Pivot biotechnology is so important?
Yeah, it fixes it right on the root. I mean, it's that bacteria, like I said, lives in conjunction with the root. The root feeds it by root exudates. Roots make a lot of carbon. There's a lot of carbon used by roots to grow in the soil, and so the root feeds the bacteria. The bacteria makes the N in the exact proximity of the root, virtually loss-proof. And so I couldn't ask for a better position when it came to how I was going to place my nitrogen fertilizer.